Hello and welcome back to Football Daily, where today we're taking a look at 10 club legends who returned as managers only to fail. Let's get into it. 10. Marco van Basten. It's not often that a third place finish is looked upon as a failure, but in Marco van Basten's case it was. Between 1981 and 1987, the Dutch legend scored 128 goals for Ajax in 133 league matches, cementing his status as one of the world's most clinical finishers. He would return to the club in 2008, rejecting a contract to stay in charge of the Netherlands after Euro 2008, a post he'd held since 2004. Expectations were high, especially after the club spent €35 million in the transfer window, including €16 million on Serbian wonderkid Miralem Sulemani, a club record at the time. Starting well, Van Basten won 9 of his first 11 matches, leading Ajax to the summit of the Eredivisie. But after the sale of Klaas-Jan Huntelaar to Real Madrid that January, things went rapidly downhill. 1 point from 12 that month saw them fall out of contention for the title, and despite a 7-0 victory over Willem II in April, they fell 6-2 to PSV and 4-0 to Sparta Rotterdam, results that would see them fail to qualify for the Champions League. Van Basten quit shortly after, and his managerial career has never truly recovered. 9. Kevin Keegan. Two-time Ballon d'Or winner Kevin Keegan actually had 3 spells with Newcastle United. The first was as a player when he scored 49 goals in 85 games at the tail end of his career, before earning the nickname King Kev during his first stint as manager, leading the Magpies to within touching distance of the Premier League title in the 1995-96 campaign. But we're taking a look at his ill-fated spell at St James's Park in 2008, where he lasted just 8 months. Embroiled in a relegation battle upon his arrival in January, a 7-game unbeaten run secured their survival, but his reign started to unravel that summer. Keegan claimed to be in the dark over the sale of James Milner and the signing of Xisco among other moves, despite believing he had full control over the club's transfer dealings. This caused the Englishman to resign following discussions with chairman Mike Ashley, although later Keegan would be awarded £2 million in compensation after it was determined the club had undermined his authority as manager. It may not have been Keegan's fault, but the whole ordeal left a very bitter taste for him, Ashley and Newcastle fans alike. Before we go any further though, are you subscribed to Football Daily, and if not, why not? We put videos like this out every single day, so you really don't want to miss out. Go on, give that subscribe button a hit. 8. Filippo Inzaghi. When it comes to AC Milan, we're sport for choice. Over the last 30 years, 10 former players have had a spell in charge of the Rossoneri, and amongst the success stories like Fabio Capello and Carlo Ancelotti, there's also the disappointments like Clarence Seedorf and Gennaro Gattuso. But for this, the focus is on Filippo Inzaghi, who spent 1 season in charge at the San Siro. Pippo scored 126 goals in 300 matches for the club between 2001 and 2012, and went straight into coaching their youth side upon retirement, before taking over from Seedorf in 2014. He started with back-to-back victories over Lazio and Parma, but a run of just 2 wins in 12 matches over the Christmas period saw a slump to 11th spot. Inzaghi was thrown in at the deep end, with the club only spending €16 million in the summer transfer window, their lowest total for a decade, and ultimately Milan would finish 10th with 52 points. This was their lowest position since 1997 and their 8th worst season since the establishment of Serie A in 1929. Inzaghi won just 14 out of 40 matches at Milan and has since spent most of his managerial career flitting between Series A and B. 7. Ossie Ardiles. One of the first foreign signings to truly make a splash on the English stage, Ossie Ardiles was first signed by Spurs in 1978, where he'd spend the next decade, making over 200 appearances. Departing in 1988, it would only be 5 years before the Argentinian was back at White Hart Lane as manager. In his debut campaign, Spurs could only finish 15th, a 2-0 win over Oldham on the penultimate day of the season, securing Premier League status. And then Ardiles seemed to become more eccentric. The next season saw the arrivals of Jurgen Klinsmann and Romanian attacker Ilie Dumitrescu, who would feature in a front 5 for Spurs. This was alongside Nick Barmby, Darren Anderton and Teddy Sheringham, with Ardiles saying he was inspired by the 1970 Brazil squad. Despite that quintet netting almost 2 goals a game to open the campaign, their lack of defensive responsibility meant they won just 4 of 12 matches, failing to keep any clean sheets. This saw Ardiles given the boot just 16 months after taking the job. His style of football was entertaining if nothing else. 6. Stuart Pearce. Signing for Nottingham Forest in 1985, Stuart Pearce would spend 12 years on the banks of the River Trent, making 522 appearances and scoring 88 goals from left back. Appointed caretaker player manager for Forest in December 1996, the England international won 6 of 12 games before his replacement, Dave Bassett, oversaw Premier League relegation. 17 years later, Pearce would return to the dugout, taking the top job at the City Ground in the summer of 2014. He started by breaking the club's transfer record with the signing of Brit Assombalonga from Peterborough for £6 million, as well as spending £1.5 million on Mikel Antonio. The pair started strongly and Forest topped the championship through September after going unbeaten in Pearce's first 11 matches. But between October and January, Pearce would only win 3 of 21 games, as Forest fell to 12th and out of promotion contention, although the last of these victories was against fierce rivals Derby County. Knocked out of the FA Cup by lower league opposition in Rochdale, Psycho got the sack in early February 2015 and is yet to return to management, although he has linked back up with Antonio as a coach at West Ham United. 5. Frank Lampard. Part of a growing trend in the Premier League that saw top clubs appoint former players as manager, no hire was held in as high regard as Frank Lampard was at Chelsea. In 13 years at Stamford Bridge, the Englishman scored 211 goals in 648 matches, winning 13 trophies, including 3 Premier Leagues and a Champions League, as well as finishing as runner-up in the 2005 Ballon d'Or. He was appointed as Blues boss in 2019 after just 1 year in management, and there was little expectation with Chelsea in the midst of a transfer ban and having just lost Eden Hazard to Real Madrid. But with his Project Youth, Lampard managed to guide his side to a Champions League spot and an FA Cup final. The following summer, over £200 million was spent on the likes of Timo Werner, Kai Havertz and Hakim Ziyech, and Chelsea were expected to compete towards the top of the table. And while they started strong, winning their Champions League group and topping the Premier League in December, a run of just 2 wins in 8 matches and a slump to 9th spot saw the legend removed from his post in January. But where does Lampard go from here? We want to hear from you. Let us know in the comments below. 4. Thierry Henry. Don't worry Arsenal fans, this has nothing to do with Thierry Henry's brief return to your club in 2012. Of course, we're taking a look at his woeful time in charge of Monaco, a side for whom he was the youngest ever debutant until Kylian Mbappe came around. He also won Ligue 1 with them in 1997, playing a century of matches before departing for Juventus in 1999. Leaving his position as Roberto Martinez's assistant at Belgium, Henry took the reins at the Stade Louis II in October 2018, wanting to replicate the football he played under Pep Guardiola at Barcelona at a team battling against relegation in France's top flight. It took over a month for his first victory, a 1-0 away triumph against fellow strugglers Cannes, but Henry would win just 1 more league game before his sacking. Despite attempting to improve the squad with the signings of Cesc Fabregas and Naldo, he lasted just 104 days as manager in the Principality, winning just 4 of 20 matches in all competitions. During Henry's stints, Monaco fell from 18th to 19th and Leonardo Jardim, the man he had replaced, took control once more, doing just enough to save Le Monégasques from relegation. 3. Henning Berg. The first player to win a Premier League title for 2 different clubs, centre-back Henning Berg was introduced to English football by Blackburn Rovers, winning the league with them in 1995 before moving to Man United in 1997. Come the year 2000, the Norwegian was back at Ewood Park, and by the time he left again in 2003, had made 287 appearances for Rovers. So when Berg returned again, this time as manager in 2012, the hopes were that he'd return them to the top flight at the first time of asking, having suffered relegation the campaign prior. Upon taking over in November that year, Rovers were 5th, just 5 points off top spot, but just 10 games later the 100-capped international was already out the door. Winning just 1 match, a 4-1 victory over Peterborough in which £8 million man Jordan Rhodes netted a hat-trick, Berg was sacked after just 57 days, having taken Blackburn down to 17th, 7 points above the relegation zone. 17th was ultimately where they'd end the season, with Berg being one of 5 different managers to take charge as Ewood Park that year. 2. Alan Pardew. Not making his Football League debut until the age of 26 when he was signed by Crystal Palace, Alan Pardew quickly became an important member of the squad at Selhurst Park, helping his side get promoted to the First Division in 1989. He'd go on to achieve icon status a year later though, scoring the winner in a 4-3 victory over Liverpool in the FA Cup semi-final. And after 17 years in the dugout for other sides, Pards would make his return to South London in January 2015, with the Eagles paying Newcastle United £3.5 million in compensation upon hiring him. He started his tenure in strong fashion, leading them to a Premier League high of 10th spot, and began the 2015-16 campaign in impressive form too, sitting in 5th at the season midpoint. But then it all began to unravel. Despite reaching the FA Cup final, Palace won just 2 league matches after Christmas and tumbled to 15th, narrowly beating relegation. The next campaign saw this run continue, and Pardew was sacked in December with his side in 17th, having won just 6 of 36 games throughout the entirety of 2016. And let's be honest, his managerial reputation hasn't recovered since. 1. Alan Shearer. We're heading back to Newcastle now as we take a look at Alan Shearer's brief stint in charge of his boyhood club. As club legends go, they don't come much bigger than Shearer, who scored 206 goals in 405 matches for the Magpies before retiring in 2006. Constantly being linked with the big job at St James's Park whenever it became available, he finally took it late on in the 2008-9 campaign. At the time of the Messiah's temporary return to Tyneside, Newcastle were 18th, 2 points from safety, and had 8 games to save their Premier League status. However, they failed to win any of his first 5 games in charge, taking just 2 points and scoring only 1 goal, although a 3-1 win in the derby over fellow relegation battlers Middlesbrough would briefly lift them outside the bottom 3. But 2 defeats later and the worst was confirmed: Newcastle were relegated. Shearer's side, which featured the likes of Kevin Nolan, Joey Barton and Michael Owen, had notched just 4 goals and 5 points in his 8 matches, and he was unsurprisingly not given the job on a permanent basis. These days, Shearer seems content on criticising the club from a safe distance. So those were 10 club legends who failed on their return, but what did you make of the list? Get discussing in the comments below and we'll do our best to reply. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave it a like, and why not stick on FD by clicking on screen right now. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.